Hello, I'm Ben. I'm teaching about video. How much time do we have?
I don't know.
Okay. Cool. Sue, you're pretty strict on things, so you could let me know. Basically, I've made 3 videos about how I try to go about making videos. Okay, and what I mostly use is a camera of sorts, phone, that sort of camera, this sort of camera, web camera. I do a lot of recording my own screen. Okay, so I might bring up student work on it and zoom in and out of it, or scroll through an essay and say this bit that rocks, this bit not so much. And then the last video is kind of a little bit about how to make it sound a bit better, because sound's pretty important. Okay. Yeah, and I've made them from the point of view of someone filming how to film a video, so it's kind of like a bit of like video inception. So my brain was working pretty hard. Didn't get any nosebleeds, which was nice. And yeah, so I'm just going to play a video. If you want to ask a question at the end of it, cool. Then play the next one, play the third one, questions at the end. Cool?
Yeah,
cool. All right.
When I left the newspaper and come to TAFE, I had a big problem. I had to teach photographers. I am a photographer, so I know what photographers are like. They don't like to read, they have very short attention spans, and they don't believe anyone's advice until they've seen that person do it themselves. They didn't trust me, and I had to find a way to show these photographers that I was a real boy. Video was one way to do it. Speak it out to a camera, and yeah, it was awkward, and yeah, my voice sounded funny, and God, did I say a lot. But the reaction I got from those first couple of videos was awesome. Students loved them. They didn't mind the mistakes. They didn't really care about the crappy look, because they actually felt like they were connecting with a person on the other end of the Moodle. Okay, so now you're probably wondering where the heck I am. I've brought you to my shed at home. She ain't sexy. Let's go for a little ride around, and I'm gonna show you the setup, okay? So, that's my car. This is the dog's couch. This is the camera I'm recording on now. And it's got a little flip out screen, so it's kind of like I can talk to someone. This is the light I'm using. This is a really crusty old photography LED light. Exercise bike, good old Darth Vader. So what I'm hopefully showing you is that with a couple of tools, you can start to build a really kind of deep connection with your students. I don't want to go all Dr. Phil on you, but there's probably just 2 or 3 technical camera things that you want to nail off and keep in mind, and then you'll never ever have to worry about them again. Set yourself up in really nice conditions, and your camera is not going to have any trouble. First off, if you want to take your exposure problems off the table, shoot in nice light, okay? So if you've got some sort of overhead lighting, cool. If you can get some lights from Bunnings for like 20 bucks each, awesome. Better yet, if you can shoot somewhere where there's window light just pouring in, amazing. Looks even better than this, which isn't that hard. Or if you can shoot in what's called like open shade, so not direct sunlight, but sit under an awning or a balcony where there's heaps of light, but the light on the face is soft. Awesome. Keep the camera still. Put it on a shelf, put it on a tripod. Have it film the entire area the action's going to take place. Don't move the camera around like this to follow the action. You kind of want to try to avoid the beach scene from Saving Private Ryan. The GoPro. Amazing little camera. Your old iPhone. Amazing little camera. Not a camera. Yes. that point and shoot you take on holidays? Epic little camera. A DSLR or mirrorless camera, really good quality. This tripod is fine. This is also a tripod. These are a tripod too. And don't forget the favourite tripod of wildlife photographers around the world, a bag of rice. Boo yeah. We've got a light, we've got a venue. What we need to do now is get our camera in focus. How focus works in a camera, it's exactly like giving a newspaper to a grandparent or a parent and watching them go as they try and focus on the tiny. That's the same thing. Science. If you've got someone with you, gently squeeze the trigger, wait for the camera image to crisp up on the subject, and you're good to go. If you're by yourself, it's a little bit harder. You need a stunt double. Okay, so I'm going to get myself a stunt double. I like this line on the floor. Can't really call it a floor, but on the shed. A chair in it. That chair is still not in shot. Okay, we need something taller. This should probably work.
Oh, it is tough, baby.
Is that gonna stand? Yeah. Alright, just lean. Now that's leaning back, so I probably want to just kind of get Darth Vader's head. Yeah, that'll be sweet. Okay, cool. Now let's go focus cameras, and we can do that while they're still recording. I'm gonna get my little crosshair in front of Darth Vader's head, get my crosshair at Darth Vader's head, and he is in focus. Nice. Same sort of thing on this camera. Do my little crosshair. Come here. Get that focus. Nice. Alright, so now I've given myself the best chance of being sharp. Thank you, Almighty Sith Lord. Am I in focus?
Yes.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm just finishing up this little presentation with footage straight out of a GoPro camera. These things are pretty cheap, okay? This GoPro is pretty much older than a preschooler. Now, this I understand is horrific, okay? I don't make things with my hands. The only thing I'm good at making with my hands is rude noises. I film a lot of top-down instructional stuff.
It gives me a chance to film a lot of top-down kind of technical things where I can show off stuff. Let me grab this camera out of here and I will give you a bit of a close-up tour of this. So, table, surface. I found that just sheets of cardboard work really nice on it. I've got a roll of paper there. What I've got going on up here is a bit of timber. Is it timber? Yeah, it's timber. It's wood. I always get the difference between wood and timber mixed up. This little bit of wood is clamped here, and on that I've got a really old tripod head which holds the camera, points it down onto the action. There you go.
Video one. Not saying, sorry, yeah, Jeff.
With the audio, was it just off the video camera?
Yeah, for the audio of that, straight off the camera there. So that's why it was okay. Hopefully I'll be able to show you something a bit better. When it went to the GoPro, that's when it started to sound a little, yeah, which is because they're in a plastic box, pretty much. Anything else?
That looks great.
I'm not saying film all your tape content in a shed. I'm just saying if it can look like that in a shed, you know, with a white wall.
Can you buy those little microphone things as an attachment, like that
Yep.
fluffy thing? Yep.
Yeah, and you can use it as long as you can plug it into. If it's got a camera port, like a audio plug-in. Yeah. So it just plugs in like a headphone socket.
That's not part of the cat thing.
That's part of the old cat.
Do you want to do screen recording next, or do you want to stick on the audio theme?
Whatever you want.
Go with the audio theme?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so we're at Aubrey train station and we're going to do some photos.
audio that is coming out of the onboard, like the stock speakers that come with my little camera. It might sound pretty good, but as you can tell, it's going to change the further I get away, which is going to make my cameraman really annoyed when he tries to focus. And hopefully as I get a bit closer, you might start to see, you might want to push that button. You might start to hear a slightly, a difference in the noise too. Especially as I get closer to and closer. Alright, so now we're going to try a bit of an aftermarket microphone. It's got a deceased cat on the front, a dead cat. That's kind of wind reduction, which might be helpful when you're outside. That's what the mic looks like. So we have attached the microphone with the dead cat on top of the camera. We have taken the plug that comes with the mic and put it into the camera. So it's not a super technical thing. It's not too confusing. Even a photographer can do it. It is that easy. Hopefully what this will do is just elevate the quality of the sound overall. So you might find that everything sounds better, which is good. That means if, you know, there's a bloke who pulls up next to us in Commodore and starts revving, that's going to sound better too, but it's also going to impact upon the sound. You know, it's going to be competing with my voice, which if you've ever heard a really sick, modded up Commodore, not a bad thing. Alright gang, now we've brought out a light because we are going so slow and we're running out of heaps of light. So this is a little lapel mic, and it costs the same as the big mic we've used before.
Alright, so as you can see, I am way further back from the camera now, but fingers crossed, the audio is sounding really, really nice. And that is because I've got a little microphone hooked up to my collar. It's that lapel mic, and it's basically getting up in my face and recording right off my mouth. You've probably noticed that all the nice ambient noise is probably not as strong because there's not as many trucks driving under my chin. It's all really in this kind of area, which is kind of good and it's kind of bad, because if you're going to do an interview with someone else and they're not wearing a mic, it's kind of awkward. If I start, you know, talking to Mark, who's off camera here, and he's telling me things that would make good footage, you know, you're not going to hear it. It's just going to be like me going, yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of ways you can get a lapel to record audio. You can plug a lapel into your phone or a voice recorder and hide it on the person. Or you can kind of do this lo-fi setting, which is, don't worry, it's going to stay reasonably PG, where we have the cord plugged into what is effectively an extension cord. That'll mess with your exposure. So we have the exposure under control. So basically what we've done is we have moved the microphone input plug 4 meters away from the camera via like just some cords from Jcar. Cost us like $9 for each of these cords, and there's 2 of them, and they're going to last us forever. So that's a really low tech way to get epic audio straight into your camera. Just buy an extension cord. We are back on just straight up on camera audio just for this little tidbit. These lapels, not all of them are built equal. So if I'm going to record straight into my iPhone, all I need is this lapel. These pins here talk to Apple products, and if I plug it into my camera directly, it won't work. I don't know why, because technology fairies, I don't understand. I had to buy this cord here, which then turns this Apple connector into a regular connector, and now it'll talk to any regular voice recorders, any camera. You can buy a couple of ways. You can buy a lapel mic that talks to cameras, and then you buy an adapter to make it talk to Apple, or you can buy something that talks to Apple, and that's what I did because most of my stuff is Apple. Alright gang, so in case you're wondering how Mark has been lighting me as soon as the light dropped, Mark, can you show us how you've been lighting me? It is literally just a little LED panel you can buy from a shop. You can get them from Bunnings. These things, if you get a photography related one, they can cost about 80 bucks or 100 bucks. If you get them from Bunnings, they can 30, 40 bucks. They might be quite as powerful. Yeah. If you are filming in a really controlled environment, so if you're always filming in the back room in TAFE somewhere, you can just get the really cheap ones that are really powerful. They don't run on batteries, they just run plugged into the wall, and they're really good. And it is just a nice little pocket light. Happy days. Thank you, Mark. No. What are we thinking? Horrified? No. Okay. See how the footage, like, as soon as the camera started moving, like the quality took a dive, particularly when it was dark. Camera hunted a lot, so if you can really lock it off and lock off your distance from the camera, it's much nicer to watch. But
Ben, how do you resync the audio that's your
on my phone now, or recording onto my phone?
to the footage?
Yeah. So if you're going to use fancy software like Adobe Premiere, you can point the two together and click merge, and that'll analyze the way. Not everyone's got that, and a lot of people we're using iMovie or Windows Movie Maker or something like that, and that's awesome place. I still use iMovie over Premiere. I just like it more. So remember my claps I did in the beginning. If you think of them in an audio line, they're spikes. They're really sharp spikes. So if I've got a set of 3 spikes on this camera, and I've got a set of 3 spikes on this camera, when I look at those waveforms, I can drop these 3 spikes over those 3 spikes manually just by dragging it till they line up. And then that audio waveform is lined up with the other audio waveform.
They'll stay in sync for
Yeah. So if you've got 2 tracks, you want to make sure you're cutting them both at the same time. Sometimes if I'm feeling like really tired or something like that and my brain's not that sharp, I will line the audio up, export that, so it's one unedited long track with the synced audio, and then it's really easy to cut because it's just all cooked into each other. Yeah. Is that making sense? Yeah. Right, cool. The long chord, just extending that point, is really good too. And what happens below camera, off camera, you know what I mean?
Yes.
If you don't see it, it doesn't happen.
What we've just purchased is the wireless mic, so if anyone wants to borrow that,
yeah.
it's got about 30 or 40 metres distance it'll cover, so it's blue. I think it's a Bluetooth.
I think they're blue. Yeah, so you literally plug the receiver in there and wear the transmitter.
You can wear the transmitter, or you can put a lapel mic into the transmitter.
Was it reasonably affordable?
About $200.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, but it's just sensational.
Yeah, and then you're just chopping video.
Yeah.
You just got to remember you put it on when you walk away.
Yeah, when you go to the loo or something.
I was doing a video the other day, and I walked out of the workshop into the other, and I could hear myself all the way. It was quite funny because I left the camera going.
Yeah, I used to work a lot with the Prime cameramen, and their worst fear was a reporter who'd go off to the loo and not turn the mic.
It's quite funny.
Alright, so I'm just going to jump into using your computer as a camera. This one's pretty meat and vegetables, so it's a bit, but. Screen recording. It's another one of those tools I like to use to try and engage with photographers. It's really hard to give feedback to someone about a photo by typing in an email or in Moodle. I'd much rather bring the photo up on the screen, zoom in and out with my hands, and show them what I'm trying to say. We're on different systems. This is a Mac. It's not a new Mac. She's more Millennium Falcon than Starship Enterprise. There's also the PC Windows side of things too, and that can be, well, at least from my perspective, it's a little bit harder, but let's not start that war. QuickTime and Preview are pretty much the 2 apps that work for me on a Mac.
And when you click on QuickTime Player, you get 3 options. You can make a screen recording, which I'm currently recording now, as you can see by the little logo up here. That's the stop button, by the way. I can also do an audio recording, which is just flat out an audio file. So if you just wanted to, talk to a student and you didn't want the screen or your face recorded, or you can do a movie recording, which essentially uses the computer's web camera to film you while you're working. And Preview is the app that will do essentially take a photo of your screen. There's keyboard shortcuts built in. So if I wanted to take a screenshot of this web page, I would hold down Command, I would hold down Shift, and I would press the keyboard number 3. And then, as you'd see back on the desktop, there is a screenshot there. Cool. Now, if I didn't want to take a photo of the entire screen, say I just wanted to take a photo of this little area here, Command Shift 4, and see how the crosshair has changed on my keyboard there. I can literally just drag out the rectangle I want, and that's going to jump back to the desktop, pop up there too. If you're on a Mac, go iMovie. It is sweet. It is so cool. I just love iMovie. But anyway, that's just me. On Windows, you guys are probably really familiar with the snipping tool for taking a snapshot of your screen. The video, I've found a little bit harder to just flat out screen record with the basic software. And that said, I spend most of my time on Mac anyway, so I'm not at all an authority on Windows. When I do have to do a little bit of screen recording on Windows, I use, and let me just flip to it, a couple of different ways to do it. So first thing is I try to use Google Chrome as the browser because it allows you to use lots of little apps and plugins and things like that. And the one I use to record my screen is Screencastify. I'm pretty sure I didn't come up with this idea. I'm pretty sure it was Sharon Howlett who showed me Screencastify, and thank you, Sharon. It saves the footage. It records either like the screen or a tab, saves it into a nice, small, compact format that you can email. It's a funny format. It's really compact and small, but it's really hard to edit. So if you bring it into iMovie, if you bring the Screencastify file into there, iMovie reject it. And it's like the only file I've ever seen iMovie reject. It's pretty funny. So my workaround, if I have to edit one of those videos, sometimes it's quicker just to like bin it and record what you were trying to say again. But if I have to edit it, I will upload it to YouTube as a private file, and then I'll come in here and use YouTube's trimmer and video editor that's built into YouTube. I know a bunch of people are doing really clever stuff where they will hold like a YouTube/Google Hangout with themselves, and that will then produce a video file. I hear people talk about Camtasia a lot. I think that's probably good. I've never come across a copy to use it, but if you just want to have a dabble without committing to software, there's a couple of ways to do it. If you want a really nice way to edit your video for free, go to GoPro. The manufacturer of those tiny little cameras. Download their software. It's pretty robust and pretty cool. It's designed for kids and all that kind of thing. So it's so simple, even a photographer can do it. What's going on my phone? So I can jump to the keyboard and I can talk about, say, the benefits of calling 000. I can talk about how to add a contact to your favorites page. Simple things like how to call your colleague. Bang. and how to hang up on your colleague. I'll get the photos onto the screen, and then I'll just compare them. I mean, this is a before and after. This is actually of my mum when she was... Anyway, there's mum. She's still around. The cat, don't know. I can zoom in, I can scroll around, I can make an audible note and say, Jimmy, you've done well here, however, I would have liked you to spend more time cleaning up these dust spots on the water tank. In terms of essays, do exactly the same thing. And this can be either just literally telling them they've crushed it and they've met all the performance criteria, and I can look in and I can highlight things and I can say, this paragraph is sweet, don't change it. That sentence there feels a little bit clunky. I'd like you to talk more about shutter speeds and apertures. And if you've got a laptop or if you've got something like that, they're usually pretty inclusive. So the web camera is built in, there's microphones built into the computer. You just fire it up and get into it. Sometimes the fan in the computer revs up and that impacts upon the clarity of the audio a little bit. Not badly, but it just sounds a little bit like, you know. To try and minimize that, I plug in my, I've got a little microphone which I plug into the computer. That I bought before we had the rollout of all the really awesome, and I mean that, I really like them, the Skype phones at TAFE, and they are awesome microphones that sit right in under your chin, and they just lift the entire audio of your screen recordings by like 3,040,000,000%.
Pretty technical stuff there. So that's my 3 videos. Yeah. What do you think about? Yep.
Windows Movie Maker that you mentioned was something that you thought was okay, but you didn't mention it for editing purposes. Can you not edit from Windows?
Yes, yeah, totally you can. I was just doing a screen recording on a Mac, and the thought of screen recording whilst I was editing on a PC for video to then put on my Mac to share with you was just, it was a bit too hard for me. But in terms of getting some video out of a camera, putting it on your Windows computer, opening up Windows Movie Maker, you can totally smash it. Yeah. And like I said, I've come from a Mac background, so I have a bit of a blind spot with Windows. I tried to address it a bit, but there's, yeah, I definitely sort of lean on Aiden and Tim and those guys.
It doesn't like a lot of files. I've had a lot of trouble getting files in off my cameras.
We've got a site license now for Adobe Premiere and full Adobe Suite, so
cool.
It takes
it can be
a bit of
installed on
learning,
staff
but
computers.
It's just a bit tough to learn how to use it.
Yeah, training for it costs so much.
Yeah, I find it really tough to, yeah, but
Something amazing. Like, where are you putting it? You put it on YouTube. Yeah.
How do you grab things off YouTube and put them up?
yeah, well, it depends on like the content of the video. I mean, photography like is a pretty open kind of learning environment. There's not a lot of secrets.
No.
So sometimes it's okay for us to put it on YouTube, and that way it's kind of drawing a bit of attraction to our course as well. Then again, you know, depending on the content, you want to talk to your boss about where can I put this, or do I embed it straight in a Moodle, or do I put it on YouTube to then embed into Moodle and things like that. Yeah.
You don't have to put it into YouTube to upload it. You can upload it straight from your own.
I think so. I think there's like if you're putting a video onto Moodle, from what I understand, you're dumping the whole thing up there, and then you're dumping it. If someone wants to view it, they've got to bring it all down before they can watch it. So like that, each of those is about 1.5 gigs because I want it to look pretty clear. So that's tricky for a student. Whereas if you embed a YouTube, it comes down from YouTube. I'm really not techie, but it beams down and it comes at a screen appropriate kind of thing. Yeah.
So people weren't putting it on YouTube and then.
Well, it works for me. I know I used to work at the newspaper and they tried their own Fairfax version of YouTube and it was a dog's breakfast. So eventually it was just like it'd break and the footage would be rubbish. So YouTube's pretty stable. You can make videos private. You can make them unlisted. So unless they've got the link, or like the link in Moodle, or it's embedded in Moodle, they can't just go to YouTube and search for it too.
What's the file type? Like, because I think if you're working on the iMovie, does it save it as a different type file compared to Mac? Yeah, have to export it to something, or is it just
Well, if it's on YouTube, it won't. It'll just be YouTube.
to get it onto YouTube, like the one that you
Yeah, I usually just go 1080 high quality, and it comes out as like an MP4.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes YouTube will say, "Oh, you should have uploaded it in a different format." I just ignore that error message, and it looks good. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What about content? Do you do a lot of preparation?
I go the other way. I just
Wing it?
make a fool of myself in front of a camera,
Yeah.
and then trim.
Ah,
But
okay.
yeah, I mean, I don't mind editing. So
Yeah.
for me, it's if I was to sit and script myself, that's where I'd lose my time.
Yeah.
But
So
that said, I know there's a case for just having 7 dot points and just going, here's where our excursion's going to be, we'll meet here, and then your video is really neat, and you've just got to trim the turning the cameras on and then the turning the cameras off, and use 2 cuts and put up the middle, which is like, that's the really time efficient way to do it. Get it right in your head, say it. Yeah.
But you don't want to be scripted too much, because like what you did was fantastic. It was very natural.
Yeah, well, I was surprised. The first one I put up and just as they really liked it. And I think most, because my guys are online anyway, and some of them I never meet, they're just a bit hungry for any sort of humanity. Yeah.
And it took some practice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, to get comfortable, I guess, in front of the...
Ben, could I just say to people that I absolutely recommend your series on YouTube about the sanctuary?
Oh,
What it is,
thank
the
you.
sanctuary. And you know that bit where you say, I don't think management even knows what we're doing.
So, Brenton and I used to film Friday afternoons, and we usually start at 4 and we'd finish about 6, and thanks for watching that bit.
One of the reasons we use YouTube is, we're trying to video, is that we do lots and lots of demos over and over and over again. So what our plan is to video a demo. We'll still do our demos to the class because there's a lot of questions and stuff that comes out of that. But if they're a bit behind, if the student's a bit behind, or they just want to refresh it, we can point them to YouTube and they can watch it again. And we had that happen last week, wasn't it? Or a couple of weeks ago.
In night class.
Yeah, one of my students
that's
came in to do a job, and he asked Wayne, can you give me a demo? And Wayne's got his own class, so he just pointed him to the YouTube demo.
Perfect.
And it was
Awesome.
just brilliant, and the feedback was terrific.
Because it was the machinery that they were standing beside, they can relate to it a lot better.
Oh, beautiful, yeah.
So it's worth doing. It's a lot of work though. It is.
But it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun.
And
The
it's a
younger
lot.
generation
It's a
know that.
screen.
They already know to go to YouTube to find out how to do things,
That's
don't
right,
they, the younger
yeah.
generation?
Yeah.
Can you put an iPhone on a tripod like that?
Yeah, yes, you can. Go to Camera House, get a Joby. It's like a little clamp here, clamp there, pinches down, and there's a tripod socket there. JB's probably got them. I could just go to Camera House in Albury. If you're feeling really cheap, you get those A clamps from Bunnings. You put one on a corner, one on the other corner, and then you use that as like a, that and sit on a bookshelf or something. Yeah.
Some of the selfie sticks you can actually...
Yeah, that's true. Selfie sticks are...
into the top of a tripod.
Yeah.
Motivated.
And once you get getting your message out, it's cool. Getting your students to send their videos back is pretty nice evidence too. It's like, I can prove I did it because here's video. It's like,
Do you do
eat that,
videos
auditor.
just for motivation? Like,
Yeah.
not just content or a reminder or don't forget, or
Yeah.
you wouldn't do that, we're coming up to a close time that you've got to get things in. Hope you're all going well. Remember to do this.
Yeah,
this,
so we
come
usually,
on.
we usually
That's
do
all
a
right.
video for Kaleidoscope before that, get your
Yeah.
work in,
Yeah.
before our trips to Melbourne or Sydney.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just seem to get a bit
So
better
not
response.
necessarily, learning. It's communication as well.
Yeah.
And it also helps with developing a relationship with your online
Yeah,
learners.
that's what I was
because,
thinking.
Yeah, they get to know you online.
And you get it back? Do you get any videos back from them?
Yeah, it's starting to come back. Like on all my assessments, I'll say, right, maybe it's right 300 words, or send me a minute 50 video or something like that. We had a girl whose all her tendons let go in her arm, and that was.
Can't do it.
So yeah, she just talked at a camera, and sometimes it's a bit dry, but it's evidence and it's there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And could I just clarify something in your first video?
Absolutely.
You burn wood and craft timber.
Thank you. That makes it really easy. Yeah. Thank you.
And sometimes you convert timber to wood. More often.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Great.